Ghost Signal is a space combat game with a hard dose of sci-fi narrative conceits. Is it for you? Let's find out. As Ghost Signal begins, the player embodies the captain of the Aurora, a spacecraft that picks up the strange signal being beamed across the depths of space. Upon further investigation, you and your onboard AI are drawn into dogfights waged against much stronger enemies across different space sectors. You encounter alien species, huge alien creatures that hatch out of planet-sized eggs, and traders that are willing to help you out, for a price. Sooner or later, you will die, as all mortals must, only to discover that you've been thrown back to the very start, but with your memories and that of your onboard AI intact. You realize that you've been caught in a mysterious and seemingly inescapable time loop, the cause of which will gradually reveal itself over successive attempts to unravel the mystery of the signal which drives you onwards. As a genre, the roguelike is not well known for its narrative delivery. Most iterations offer flimsy reasonings as to why the player keeps regenerating, traditionally trading storytelling for action. Ghost Signal, however, does an excellent job of creating a compelling reason to keep playing from a narrative standpoint. Story components are nudged along in a way that both justifies the gameplay repetition and dangles the carrot of an evolving mystery, keeping the player engaged as details of the cosmic anomaly are discovered. In addition to the thematic evolutions, there are gameplay variations on the basic theme waiting for those skillful enough to complete a run. Ghost Signal has a clever hook to keep players coming back for more, and although it took me hours to complete my first run, it became clear after that initial success that I was far from completing the game. It's difficult to say more here without risking spoilers, but suffice it to say that Ghost Signal is far from a one-and-done experience. The core gameplay that makes up the bulk of the time spent in Ghost Signal is centered around the player navigating the Aurora through a series of pitched battles across the solar system. Each new sector will provide a specific encounter, from standard battles against hostile intergalactic forces to trading ships and even facing off against planet-sized space beasties. The roguelike elements of Ghost Signal are a relative masterclass. The progression system is well developed and accessible, allowing players to take control over the way they wish to enhance future sessions without getting bogged down in the grind. Currency earned in each run allows for upgrades to be purchased, which will remain persistent across each attempt. This currency is well balanced, coming easily enough that the rewards can be accessed frequently, but not so cheaply as to become irrelevant. As a counterpoint, there is also a noteworthy perk system that ensures players will treat each run as unique. Within each attempt, a different array of perks and detriments will be available depending on the creatures and carnage that the player encounters. These can stack up to give players a devastating advantage, or combine in unique ways which may prescribe a completely different playstyle from the last. It is as engaging and well-conceived as any other perk system in the genre, and it's a real highlight of the game. Ghost Signal has an intuitive control system, and within a fairly small learning curve, players will expertly trace flight paths through the stars. It also supports hand tracking and can be played entirely without controllers, but as with most hand-tracked games, it can get fidgety. I opted for playing with the controllers. The Aurora is armed with shields, boost thrusters, and 3 weapon types, each with specific strengths and weaknesses. In the sectors that involve combat, balancing these elements against increasingly difficult waves of foes provides an addictive dance in tactical destruction. Up to a point, that is. The basic gameplay in Ghost Signal is very good. So good, in fact, that I happily put in over 4 hours into the game before the initial allure began to wear off, and I began to focus on what was missing rather than what was actually on offer. While the roguelite elements of the game are truly excellent, and the action is initially exciting, eventually, the combat begins to feel a little repetitive, and unfortunately, shallow as a result. The moments that prove most satisfying are those when you are switching deftly between the weapons and maneuvering through the chaos of the fight. In the heat of battle, balancing all interactive components requires concentration and an agile use of the controls, and in these moments, Ghost Signal is fantastic. However, there is not actually a lot that you and your ship can actually do, and after several hours in the game, the combat does devolve into a reproduction of the same tactics over and over again. Sadly, there just aren't enough moves, for want of a better term, to keep your strategies fresh, and well before the game is fully complete, the initial shine does wear off. With just a few more interactive components, Ghost Signal could have been absolutely amazing. All of the bones of something outstanding are there, but it feels as though the main combat is just slightly underbaked. The addition of a few more evasive maneuvers or the ability to direct shields to certain quadrants of your ship, and then the cognitive balance would have been tipped towards a more engaging, long-term experience. Similarly, the giant planet-sized beasties that inhabit this universe represent another missed opportunity. While they generally look great, they are largely decorative, and with a few rare exceptions, these enormous creatures offer nothing in terms of interactive gameplay. It seems such a waste to encounter so many magnificent creatures, but have almost none of them present much more than an obtuse environmental threat. Like so many games set in the void of space, Ghost Signal struggles to create a visual environment of meaningful interactions. Don't get me wrong, it is a good-looking game, and it does admirably to hide its playable area within a well-wrought skybox, but trying to make the vast vacuum of space feel grounded and immersive is challenging, to say the least. The planet-sized creatures and space stations that make up the backdrop elements look appropriately grand, but they highlight how little environmental interaction has been fused into the gameplay. The immediate environments that the combat inhabits are strewn with asteroids, which can be used tactically and create a usable sense of physicality, but as the only visual offering inside the actual game space, they feel far too sparse. Ghost Signal could be greatly improved with sectors that incorporate more direct environmental challenges. Battles which rage around or inside the carcass of one of these deceased giant monsters, or perhaps the decrepit remains of a once thriving space station, would have been a vast improvement. Sadly, this lack of visual panache translates directly to a lack of gameplay options, and Ghost Signal suffers both visually and fundamentally because of it. Depicting the empty void of space may work from an atmospheric point of view, but immersive gameplay demands a more creative approach to the way that deep space can be interacted with. Ghost Signal is a thoroughly enjoyable space roguelike that excels in a lot of areas, but ultimately falls short of excellence. Delivering an outstanding story for the roguelike action to exist in, with truly excellent progression and perk systems in play, it is easy to recommend it as being well worth the humble price of admission. However, with combat mechanics that are slightly too shallow to fully capitalize on the otherwise exceptional elements on offer, Ghost Signal drifts into the inky void, long before it has the chance to live up to its considerable potential. 7.5. If you are enjoying the channel and would like to stay up to date with all the news, reviews, and occasional interview, click the like button, the subscribe button, and any other button that looks appealing to you in this exact moment. Perhaps if you are interested in other space-driven combat games, you might want to click the link here and have a look at our review of Ansha 2 Hyperdrive, or something like that. I didn't do the reading. Don't tell me about homework.